Hello and welcome everybody. First of all, I wish you a very warm good morning and good evening in different parts of the globe. My name is Chetan and I'm your host for today. Today's power packed webinar, which stays AI driven test automation, smarter QA for modern teams. I head the partner relationship at Techment. Before we dive in, let's do a quick electronic check and see if you are able to see and hear us loud and clear. I would really appreciate if you can hear us and see us clearly. Give a thumbs up or a yes on the chat box. Yes,
Loud and
kudos.
clear, Chetan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to introduce our stellar speakers for the day. First up, we have Sunil Pandey, Senior Manager QA at Techment Technologies, a passionate leader driving innovations in intelligent automation and continuous testing. And joining us from Tricentis, our very own Ian Flanagan, partner solution expert with deep expertise in enabling organizations to scale testing through cutting edge tools like TestIM. Together today, they will unpack how AI is transforming QA as we know it. So, before we move ahead, let's have a very quick snapshot of today's agenda. So, today we are going to
So,
cover.
so Chetan, sorry to interrupt. I believe we were facing issue with this presentation mode. Mansi, is it possible for us to? Yep. I think right before that we were facing some issues, so I'm not sure. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Sorry, Chetan, please go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. It happens. Moving ahead to the agenda for the day, we'll start with how the demands on QA have evolved over time, the strategic areas where AI is enhancing test automation. To be noted, Tricentis Testium, AI-powered web, mobile, and Salesforce testing tool, a live demo and key feature analysis of Testium, real world-class case studies, and then don't go anywhere. There's a beautiful activity, test maturity assessment to benchmark your automation journey. And finally, we'll be more than happy to answer one or many questions that you might have. So let's kick off by understanding the changing dynamics of QA. Over the last few years, testing has evolved from being a phase to becoming a continuous activity. To set the stage, let's quickly look at the broader evaluation of QA and how QA AI is transforming traditional testing with a very small poll. However, let's make this interactive and we would take a moment to vote for 30 seconds and see how we are going to set the trend for the rest of the webinar. Poll please. Great. We can end this poll. So thank you everybody for sharing your responses. It really gives us great insight into what the community is facing today. So let's turn on to Sunil. Sunil, software testing has changed dramatically over the years. Could you walk through how demands on testing have evolved and what new challenges QA teams are facing today?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chetan. Hello, everyone. Great to be here. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for participating in poll. I could see 82% of the participants, they're still exploring how to utilize automation or AI in automation and QA. Let's do one thing. Just to set the context, let's take a quick trip to the time, the overall evolution of software testing, and it will be like pretty fast. So stay tuned. Uh, the software testing is like evolution of music formats. We started cassette tapes, reliable but manual, very, very slow. That was like 1980s manual testing era. Testing came after development, all the waterfall. Scaling was like very, very painful. And then 1990s and early 2000, industry moved towards the browser automation, early automation. I think all the veterans who are sitting here, who have been through that journey, they all understand what I'm saying. It's kind of moving to CDs, faster cycle, better coverage, but still required a lot of kind of scripting symphonies and very, very heavy maintenance. By 2010, DevOps, Agile turned up the tempo. We entered the continuous testing era. And I believe we have seen and heard this particular phase, continuous testing, a lot of time. Think of it like a streaming, online video streaming or something. Very, very fast, always on, integrated into our release pipelines. But with that came a lot of pressure, very frequent releases, more complexity, and more expectations from QA. I'm sure that many of us are from QA background, so expect a lot of expectation from QA. It's a lot of pressure. So the most important thing is now we are in the 2020s, the real AI augmented testing era. Not particularly for last 5 years, but at least for last 3 to 4 years, definitely for sure. And this is very different. AI is like having Spotify personal DJ who's like fixing bugs, writing tests, predicting failures, and they're all happening simultaneously or one after another. The new era tools are enabling us like very, very smart and fast testing, self-healing test, intelligent test, visual validations as well. And this is not a not science fiction anymore. I mean, in some cases, few years back, it feels like science fiction, but now, today, definitely it is not. So now the real question is like, should we automate? No, this is not the real question. The real question is how intelligently we can automate. So that intelligent automation, AI powered, I mean, will set the context. So far, we just talked about the timeline. And throughout the webinar, you'll know how intelligently we can automate. And when we say AI powered, what do we mean by that? So this is the journey we all are on today. Uh, Today, team needs speed, scalability, and stability, and the traditional approaches definitely cannot deliver that. So that's where we are. AI-driven test automation becomes, it's not just helpful, but it is a necessity today. So Chetan, I think that's pretty much for the timeline. Over to you.
Right. Thanks, Sunil. Building on that, where do you see AI is making the most impact in test automation today? Or let me frame it in other words, how is it helping QA teams to work smarter?
Great question. Great question, Chetan. So I hope all of us are able to see this visual. And this is based on our research for past few years that we have been doing. And these are all not just 8 pointers that industry is following, but these are the most prominent stuff. Definitely other people may articulate it differently. So let's take a look at it. And these are not just slides. And I promise you, this is not going to be our typical list. So stay tuned. Let's go like 1 to 8. Let's start with AI powered low code, no code. There are multiple options available. This is really a revolution. I mean, imagine giving a superpower to our manual testers. They start trying until it is complex and custom kind of a use case. We can go from idea to literally implementation in just few hours, few days, not in weeks and months. So it's very, very fast. And when we talk about self-healing and easy maintenance, I mean, self-healing literally talks about like it is trying to heal itself. If we have some minor UI changes, mid-level UI changes, the AI engine, the ML engine is trying to heal the UI, whatever changes itself. So it's evolving. The tests are evolving over the period of time, and it is getting intelligent on its own. Definitely, there are a lot of AI, Gen AI, and machine learning play into picture, and it depends on the tool that we are using. So a lot of things happening in the background. When it comes to code completion and suggestion, I think even if you have not used a lot of tools, I'm pretty sure has heard about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. So think of this as ChatGPT meets your IDE, integrated development environment. AI helps you write tests smarter, faster, and very fewer bugs. Of course, you need to understand how to write codes and all. It's not all magic. Definitely, it has to be like articulated and it has to be used by experienced people. So it's like having really senior automation engineer in your cursor. So cursor, lovable, Windsurf, whatever you are using. The next one is automated test case generation. In many cases, all the test management tools are offering this. but it is much better that we start using this and without going to blank canvas. If I have a user story, I don't have any test case. I have to write it everything from the scratch. However, if I have a language model trained, or if I have a tool which understand my application, which knows the context, I can start at least 30-40% in advance. It can create test cases for me. The next step is scenario exploration and with the language models. So this is a bit technical. I'll try to do justice with this. Uh, think about a scenario where we miss the edge case. It's like every now and then, 15 days or a month, when we have a release or weekly release or daily release, uh, everybody or each one of us must have faced that very, very corner scenario, late night production issues. So language models can help uncover the test paths. Uh, Generally, we might miss. Even for a seasoned QA, it is difficult. So it's like having 10x curiosity built into your QA. Test data generation, as long as you have a right tool at your disposal, you can generate a lot of custom test data based on your application. And if it is a very complex setup like SAP, healthcare, CRM and all, that also can be done, but you need to have a proper tools and setup for that. Now, one of my favorite part, defect prediction and prevention. I'm sure that I'm expecting some questions from this, but let's see what it is. So what if quality framework told you that what from where we can expect the next bug? Uh, you have to test this. Uh, it's kind of a bug prediction. It might be little hazy. So towards the end, if you have more time, I'll take more time to make this clear. But just think like you have a tool at your disposal which can predict where exactly bug might occur. So that's where AI steps in and it analyzes what changes are going in from development side, what things you have tested either as manual and automation, and it does all the impact analysis for you. So there's no hustle between dev and QA that this was not discussed. That's where defect prediction and prevention come into picture. Next step is like visual AI validation. This is like sometime back, few years back, if we are thinking pixel perfect and all, it was very, very difficult. Unless we use specialized tool, it was difficult. Now it is achievable. So visual AI catches, all vision AI catches all the layout glitches, font misalignments, cross-device oddities that even very, very seasoned tester might miss. Even if I go and try to test on multiple devices, I cannot guarantee that I'll be able to catch every bug. If I'm sitting and testing like 10:30 in the night, I definitely cannot catch that. But this is like 24 cross 7. Machine is not going to sleep. So it is going to catch that issue provided we have done the proper setup. So this isn't just a smarter QA. This is QA with intuition. It's test automation that thinks, adapts, and scales along with your team. So many of us might be thinking like, and you might ask, are we just theorizing this? Oh boy, definitely not, definitely not. At Techment, we have walked this talk. After evaluating many tools, we partnered with Tricentis and we have been using TestIM. There's a tool called TestIM and the one that aligned with our vision. And here's the exciting part. If you see in the visuals, it's not the futuristic idea. Point number 1, 2, 3, and 8, visual AI-based testing, code completion, self-healing, AI-powered. And I believe definitely we'll have a demo for some of these for sure. 1, 2, 3, straightforward. If you want to go ahead and do visual AI validation, definitely with integration with tools like Apply tools, we can do it. So right from that transformation AI playbook, we can start utilizing. So without too much setup. So again, we have been using this for 4+ years and outcomes, if you ask for outcomes, let's just say it saved thousands of hours, literally thousands of hours towards the end of this discussion. And we'll share, I believe we'll have time to talk about those stories a bit. If you ask me what could be one key takeaway, so AI isn't replacing testers, it's replacing the frustration that every day we have as testers or QA engineers or QA professionals. But we also have to gear up. As a QA professionals, test engineers, we do have a choice. Either we adapt, explore, and lead with AI. AI could be a good co-pilot for us, or risk taking. Definitely, we are at risk. get left behind. So if we don't adapt, we'll be left behind. So this is our moment to transform testing, not just automate it. So I think that pretty much sums up this visual. Chetan, over to you.
Absolutely great, Sunil. I mean, this really provides a lot of insights and a lot of confidence in terms of why and how AI is shaping up the modern day quality assessment. Now, for the people who are attending today, don't forget we are offering a free test maturity assessment to help you benchmark where you currently stand in your automation journey. We'll be sharing you the link towards the end of the season, so make sure you don't go away. Stay tuned. Let's bring so now this brings us to invite our very own Ian. Ian, Testim is known for its advanced AI capabilities, and with AI entering into the equation, expectations around speed, reliability, scalability have definitely been skyrocketed. Now, could you walk us through how Tricentis Testim is uniquely positioned to make these modern testing demands, especially across web, mobile, and Salesforce?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chetan. So really, Testim has been around since 2014. We were acquired by Tricentis in February of 2022. It's really one of the first tools to leverage AI for the authoring and maintenance of UI and end-to-end tests. And as we get into the demo in a little bit here, you'll see that the product is completely AI powered, and we use it in a wide array of capabilities and capacities, really to help customers be more efficient. Whether you're a developer, automation engineer, or manual tester, anyone really can use the tool to create tests. It's a low-code tool, but one of the big capabilities that we see is, again, as you're seeing on the screen here, we see about a 90% increase in authoring. And there's some capabilities that we'll show you in the demonstration that will cover that. Um, that is if you're coming to us from an open source tool. So if you're creating 50 tests in Playwright with our tool, you can create almost 100 in the same time period, right? It's pretty amazing. Also, not only with the fast authoring, we also had some capabilities around AI where we dramatically reduced the maintenance. As you'll see in the demo, the only requirement is to install our Chrome extension, and when you start recording tests, we build a confidence score, put that through an AI algorithm, and if 3 or 4 attributes of a locator or a button change, we're still like able to find that object, which means that you can create tests very quickly that are extremely stable. So we see about a 60 to 80% reduction in test maintenance, again, if you're coming to us from an open source tool. And again, Testim can be used to automate web, API, mobile, or Salesforce applications. In general, we see customers that use our tools save about 2 days of testing per 2-week agile sprint. So it's pretty remarkable.
Um, Thank you so much, Ian. I think this really provides as a breakthrough insight, which entrusts Testim as one of the most preferred and accepted AI based automation tool. Now, Ian, could you also take us through a quick demonstration of the core AI features that are inbuilt to Testim and how they translate into a tangible business benefits for QI team?
Sure. Are we going to pivot to the demo, or is there another slide we're going to cover now?
You can get into the demo.
Okay, perfect. Do you want to go okay, let's do this and then we'll yeah, one more slide and then we'll jump into the product. So we're going to cover some of this in the demo, but again, go back to the previous slide real quick. Okay, so a number of things we're going to cover. We're going to show you in the demo: auto grouping, the smart locators. The Copilot is a new feature we released recently and allows you to generate coded steps. It is a low-code tool, but a bit of a misnomer because you can do coding in the tool, and we have some mechanisms to really dramatically expedite that for people. We also have some capabilities around making sure that people can find answers to their questions quickly. It's our AI bot. And then, document validation. There's a lot of other things in the tool that kind of cover that. So I will go ahead and share my screen and we can get into the demo. If you want to stop sharing. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So Testem is a SaaS-based product. So the only requirement to use our product is to have access to the Chrome browser and to install our Chrome extension, which takes about 25 seconds, and then you can use the product. All of the tests and the results are stored in our cloud. Okay, so what you're looking at, this is our visual editor. This is where you're going to go to create, edit, or debug tests. Test and Testem can be a combination of manually recorded and or custom actions. I'm going to go ahead and add a name or a description. We can work with test data as well. So this is, let's see, this is an Excel file, but you could upload a CSV. We're going to convert it to a JSON format. We'll touch on why you would test drive your test here in a minute. But as you're noticing here, you notice the AI has already detected we've created a reusable step. So I'm going to dismiss that. We'll touch on that here in a second. And on the
Sorry, Ian.
right-hand side,
Sorry,
yes, sir.
and sorry to interrupt. I believe you're sharing just the browser and the application. I'm not able to see, so maybe others also may not be able to see. So it
Okay,
feels like a
let's try it
magic
again.
that how we are getting that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It says
That
Google
was magical.
Chrome.
Yep.
1 second.
Hmm.
It's not letting me share the full desktop.
Okay. Mansi, can we do something for that?
It's only I've never seen this. Oh, let's see here. Hold to shift. 1 second. Yeah, for some reason it's only letting me share the web browser.
Okay. So maybe Mansi, we can assign complete rights if we have that option. Yeah. Though we are able to see the test IAM, it will be really great to see the application also. Otherwise,
Sure.
everything will feel like a magic. And
Yeah. No, I get that. I'll try to stop. I still don't see any change in that.
Mhm.
See if I can do this. Okay, we'll try that. We'll try that and see if that makes a difference. Can you see the web app now and test them?
Yep, we can see
Okay,
both.
let me do this again. Can you see both still?
Yes, we
Yes, we.
Okay. So as I'm interacting with the application on the right-hand side, basically we're recording a step for everything that we're doing. Okay. So now, again, if you noticed, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. We have a lot of built-in functions to help with automating tests. So we can validate text on the screen, elements visible, not visible. We can validate whether we see elements on the screen. We have an email service. So maybe you have a complex use case where you want to have it send an SMS code to the mailbox. We have an email service. We can go into the mailbox and extract that SMS code either programmatically or we have a codeless step to do it. We can validate CSS properties. And one of the earlier slides alluded to visual testing. We have some capabilities right in the product to handle that. So CSS properties. So if the background color of this button changes, we could test for that. HTML attributes. This project that I'm using here is actually integrated with Applitools. So as you can see here, this project's integrated with Applitools. So if we come over here and we look at validations at the bottom here, viewport visualization, we can do pixel level validations with the Applitools integration. All of that is possible. Okay. So we want to click on to make sure we're signed in with the right user. We're going to keep continuing to record. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play this test back. So I'm sure there's folks on the phone that maybe are using Playwright or Selenium or Cypress. To create a test like this with Playwright, I've worked with all these open source tools for years. Probably would have taken me 25, 30 minutes. This test I created in about 30 seconds, right? So dramatic increase in the authoring. Let me show you another way to do that quickly. So we can highlight, we can group steps. I'll create a new test and I'll show you the power of grouping. Let's minimize this. And let's go over here. We're going to do log in. We're going to do log out. So these are shared steps. So this would be analogous to a method or a function. So if you notice these shared steps, they're parameterized. So let's go ahead and upload our test data. So here's the power of using test data. Just question for folks on the phone. How are most people working with test data? Is it done dynamically, using it statically? What are people doing? Maybe you want to put it in the chat. Let's put in our test data here.
Yep, it looks like both the ways, static and dynamic.
Okay. So I'll show you some more complex things to do with test data. We can see that here in a second, but I wanted to show you this. So again, this is the power of shared steps. So you'd create shared steps for things like log in, log out, put something in the shopping cart, any common flows that you're going to do sort of over and over and over again. Let me show you a more complex scenario with test steps or with test data. So, and this is getting into more of the coded aspects of the tool, but this is a CLI action. So there's two ways to do coding in our product. One is a custom action, which is run in browser. A CLI action is run in Node.js outside of the browser. So I wrote this code. Here I've created this person object, and I'm using the Faker API. So I'm making calls to Faker. I'm generating a dynamic first name, last name, email, all of these things. It's this line of code that allows me to use this test data that I'm generating dynamically throughout the context of the entire test. So if we come in here to insurance data, we can see I'm using person.first, person.last. So that's another way that you can work with test data sort of dynamically. Another thing a lot of our customers do is, they're working with MySQL. So this is a MySQL database. Maybe at the beginning of the test, I want to connect to the database. I'm running a query here and I'm extracting test data that I'm using throughout the context of the test. Again, CLI action. I can install third-party packages. I can do all kinds of more complex things with the tool. Okay. I'm sure people probably on the phone do a lot of API testing. Maybe we could just get a question about that. Sure, that's a common thing that comes up for the folks on the call as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So we've done API testing before. One of the challenges that I've run into, and this is one of the things we saw with our product, is a lot of people will be doing API testing. Maybe I want to start with a web test, make an API call, get data back, and then use it in the next subsequent test step, and then connect to the database at the end and make sure data persisted in the database. So we have two built-in API steps in the product. There's an API action and validation that can kind of be used interchangeably, very much analogous to what you'd see with something like Postman. Here I'm doing a get. I'm passing in the authorization. There's my bearer token. We can assert on certain status codes. We can assert on headers or JSON body or text. And then over here in the bottom right, if we're getting a status code of 200, this is where I'm running additional code. So I'm creating an array. And basically, this is making a call to the test and REST API. We're getting all the tests back. We're adding all the tests to our array. And again, this line of code allows us to use the data we got back from that API call in the next test step. And here I'm just doing a for each and I'm printing the tests out. We'll run this in a second, but I came from more of a development background, so I would prefer to do it this way. This is an asynchronous function wrapped in a promise, does the exact same thing. This is a custom action. This runs in browser as opposed to running in Node.js outside the browser. So you can do very complex sort of use cases or scenarios with the tool, and we can see that this test finished. Okay, so some of the outputs you get from a root cause analysis standpoint, we provide you access to the console log. These are all the tests that I printed out. We give you access to the network log. So maybe there's an image on the screen that was taking a long time to load and the test failed. We can download this. It'll download it to a HAR file that can be imported into really any performance tool you want. But again, we were diagnosing this problem. Turns out this image took forever to load and the test failed. So We want to give you visibility in doing those types of things. I briefly wanted to show you some more cases around where we're using some more AI in the product. So we'll cover that more in a second when we get into the maintenance, but just to show you this. So this is one of our custom coded steps. We says write code with AI. So this is our copilot. So there's three options here. We can generate code based on text input. So we're going to do that. We're going to do this. Give me 1 second. We want to do this. So I'm just having it, we're going to get the current title and validate that it matches something here. So this is going to generate a coded step for us. So again, to do more complex things in the tool involves really knowing some knowledge of JavaScript, but this coded step we can create just by entering text into the input field, and we can see that it's just completed. So a few other things around this. Let's say you're working with a tool like Testum and someone's created coded steps and they've left the company, and you're not really sure what this does. You can say, hey, look, I want to highlight this coded step, explain to me what it's doing. It'll analyze it and tell you what the code is doing. Or maybe if something's no longer compiling and you're having some sort of a weird issue, we can come in here and say fix, and it'll analyze the code that we've highlighted, it'll fix it, and then make it so that that code's going to compile for you again. Any, just a quick pause, any questions other questions that have come in?
No, I think towards the end we can have a Q&A session. For now, we are
Okay,
good.
Yes,
cool.
we do have a couple of questions coming up, Ian, but I think we will take this at the fag end of the webinar.
Okay, no worries. I just got a few other things to show and then we can pivot, but I briefly wanted to show you guys this. So we'll just kind of pivot and kind of talk about the maintenance piece a minute. And what I'm going to do is I recorded this really basic test. Sorry, let's pause this. We'll run this again. Okay, so we've got this test running. I set a breakpoint. The other thing with our tool is we can see that this test has reached this breakpoint. We could do step over, we can do step into, we can provide variable scope definitions of variables coming into the step. But I wanted to point your attention to a couple really important things. So when we created this test, that button was called select destination. Now it's called search. So the text has changed, the background color. If we were to inspect this, we would see that the class has changed as well. So there's about 4 attributes of this object on the page that have changed. Now, I'm going to click continue and it's going to try to execute step 2. And if you noticed, we're able to find that button. So what are we doing there? What is going on? Well, because you install our Chrome extension, when you click on elements, we have access to the entire DOM. So we can analyze everything on the page as it relates to this button, right? And even though 4 attributes change, we're still able to find it. Now I would point out that if we're using Playwright or Selenium or Cypress, they're typically using one locator strategy. It could be ID, XPath, class, CSX selector, JavaScript selector. And if that fails, the script's going to throw an exception and it's going to fail. So what we're doing, we analyze everything on the page. Every one of these locators, we assign a weighted score to it. We can see this is grayed out. This indicates that text was not used when we were able to figure out what that button was. What I'm about to show you is a differentiator for us because some other competitors in the market, this is all kind of a black box and they don't give you the ability to go in and tweak and configure things. We do. So instead of editing, I could change it contains, I could pass a variable in here. So for example, in this dropdown, we could have created an array. We could randomize which planet we would pick. So we could do something like, planets like that, and that would pick, the 4th element in the array and would select that. So you could do all kinds of complicated things like that. In addition, if you said, you know what, Ian, if something on the page changes, I want the test to fail, hey, not a problem. We can adjust the threshold from low. We can make it high or very high or strict. If we did that, because the confidence score of this locator is dropped below 70%, the test is going to fail. The last thing I'll mention from a self-healing capability, we also have an algorithm called auto improve. Anytime you've run a test on our infrastructure more than 5 times, if any of the locator scores drops below 70%, the tool is going to try to automatically improve that locator score. We'll flag the test that we've done that to. If we click on the test, we can click on show improved steps, and we can basically see what step was improved and when the step was improved. So at the end of the day, most people that use our product need to be able to create tests quickly that are extremely stable. So that allows them to create more automation. Let's see, let me pause there. Any other questions that have come in? We want to save it till the end.
Yep, I think some of those questions are not specifically related to test time, so we'll put it for the last one.
Okay, no worries. Just a few other things to touch on, guys. So I'm sure you guys have worked with tools like this quite a bit. This is Playwright. This is VSS Code. I worked with Eclipse, IntelliJ, VSS Code. Spent many years working with a tool like this. Great tool. The challenge with a tool like this is, as most of us are doing Agile, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 week sprints, we're going to show up and the questions we're going to get asked when we do the daily stand-up is, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? Do I have any blockers, right? And so one of the scenarios that comes up is, let's say, tomorrow's Friday. Let's say this test is flaky. I want to comment it out. I come back on Monday. Had a long, great weekend. I have no idea the test I need to fix. I have no idea what file it is, what class it is, what the name of the test is. And so it's really kind of hard to prioritize that. We really tried to solve that with our insights dashboard. So first of all, I can come in, if I scroll down here, I get a 30,000-foot view of every test that we have. One cool thing about our product in terms of test status is we have other test status like quarantine, as you're seeing on my screen. So in the scenario I provided you, let's say that this test is consistently failing. If I move it to quarantine, let's say it's part of my GitHub Actions pipeline or my Jenkins pipeline. If it's in quarantine, it's going to get skipped. So you can control how tests are executed from your CI tool, right from within the context of our platform, right? So if I'm coming in and, it's I know we're going to be doing a stand-up, maybe these tests in quarantine, they're really important. I need to get them fixed and move them to active. Tests that are in evaluating status. These tests are ones that, let's say, or you want to add to your CI pipeline, but they're not consistently working. You can add them, and then if they fail, they're not going to fill the CI build. Once they fail, and once you move into active, if they fail, then they would fail the build. So evaluating and quarantine are a way to control how tests are executed from your CI tool, okay? Some additional things we have, you can create labels for tests. It's a way to organize tests. You can create labels for things like, smoke, regression. They can be used to organize tests. You can also kick off tests from our command line interface that I'll show you just here in a second. So that's another way to sort of organize tests. We can also organize tests by owner. So we can see tests that are assigned to a particular owner. So it's a great way to kind of filter tests. We can create folders. So we have these tests in different folders in here. So you can kind of look at that. So that's great. We also have cross-browser testing. So if the tests that I was playing back were played back in Chrome, but if you wanted to take that same test and run it across all the major browsers, we do support that. We support all these different operating systems. So I could go in here and do like Windows 11 with Chrome. I could pick the screen resolution I want, and any test with this label, Blake label, is going to run across all these browser OS combinations in parallel. We do have a Selenium grid that comes complementary with your contract, but we do support the ability to run on any Selenium compatible grid. We integrate with some other cloud providers listed here, or if you had your own Selenium grid, you could attach that and run those tests on our infrastructure as well. We can see here we got a failure. So let's drill into one of these particular failures. And we can see here that we have a specific step that failed. So when things fail, we know you're going to get failures, but I wanted to show you what it looks like so we can see the test failed, the step that failed. Also, everything can be customized in the product. If you wanted to come in and say, you know what, maybe this step is consistently not passing, but I don't care because there's something else in the flow that I want to test, I can mark with warning and continue, and it wouldn't fail the test. We can override the timeout for each test step. The default is 30 seconds, but we could really make it 45 seconds. We can make it 3 seconds. But we can see here that we have this test that failed. So the other thing that we provide from a root cause analysis standpoint, we touched on console logs and network logs. We take screenshots for every test step. Here's the actual screenshot when the test was executed. Here's the baseline. Here's the side by side. We can see that we were expecting hello Chetan, but this is what actually appeared on the screen, right? So what we can do also is we can tag failures. So maybe this was, let's say, invalid test data like that. I'm going to go ahead and quickly log into Jira because I'm not logged into Jira, but okay, I don't have access to log into it now, but that's okay. But right from here, we can create an issue in Jira. So we can select, oh, there I am. We can select our project. We can give it an issue. It's going to provide a link to the testum test case, the environment under which the test was executed, all the test steps, screenshot, videos, logs, everything the developer needs to fix that particular issue. Okay. So that's also a great feature. Also, we were talking in AI in the product, we have this duplication level. So this is going to analyze every test that you have, and it's tried to look for tests with duplicate steps. It's trying to drive me as a behavior to create a shared group. If I did it, it would refactor all the affected tests. Okay. We all know that sometimes people ask questions and you want to try to figure out how to do something. You know, if you're working with an open source tool, you're largely going to post something to a message board and hope that, you know, someone gets back to you quickly. So we have this AI bot in the tool. We've trained it to look at every support case that's been opened or online documentation or YouTube channel. And I typed in element not found. It's making some recommendations. It'll also provide links to our documentation. We have a YouTube channel, but I could also directly talk to somebody in support if I wanted to do that right from here. Okay. Just a few other things to touch on from an integration standpoint. We really integrate with pretty much any CI tool out there, whether you're using Azure Pipeline, Circle CI, GitHub Actions, Jenkins. I'll briefly show you this, but as we start interacting with this, we can see here that it's adding this to my code snippet. So in my Jenkins pipeline, I had this, and I worked with Jenkins back when it was called Hudson, so I'm dating myself a bit. But essentially, I had this pipeline up and running in about a minute because of the code snippet we have. But again, we integrate with any CI tool provided there's access to a shell and you can install Node in our NPM package. Just a few other things briefly to touch on, and I'll hand it back over to the guys. But here's kind of here's what our pass rate looks like. Here's how many tests we're running. Here's where the tagging comes into play. When I was working in automation, we would write pass or fail to a database, but the questions we'd get are what percentage are invalid test data or UI changes or bugs in the app. It was hard to figure that out. We want you to use tagging so those errors can bubble up to the top, right? You know, I was an engineering manager at one point. We had an automation team. We had certain KPIs around how many automated tests are we creating per week, per month. So we can see who's creating tests in the tool. Are they new tests? Are they updating tests? Those types of things. We want to give you visibility in what people are doing. Relying on GitHub commit messages is kind of challenging to figure that out. Last but not least, we touched on Jira. We do integrate with a lot of other bug tracking tools. We do integrate with other test case management tools as well. So we have some within the Tricentis portfolio, but if you're using any of these other tools, we integrate with those. The last thing I wanted to show you guys briefly was we also, if you noticed at the top here, we have some branching and merging. So we do integrate with GitHub and Bitbucket. We can see that this would be for the app that's under test. we can we can add multiple repositories. We can see create, merge, or selected. What that means is that as a as a developer, if I went and created a branch in my code repository because create selected, we're going to create a branch and test them. So that allows me to create tests against different branches. We do support full branching and merging, pull requests, all those types of things in the product as well. So let me go ahead and pause there. That's kind of a quick overview, and I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you
Yep, I think there's a
so
network lag.
much for this insightful demo, and that was really incredible. But
Yep.
there's one doing ROI, or typically how are companies just going to test? So if you can, if you can, help us understand
Oh,
how
sure.
testing is cost effective as well. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So what we're seeing here in this section here, I'll just highlight it so you guys know what I'm talking about. But basically, what we're doing is on the right-hand side here, this kind of we did analysis. We worked with hundreds of customers, and most of them have come to us from an open source tool. Now, full disclosure, we see ourselves as complementary. So, customers may have open source for API level tests or unit tests or other things. Certainly want to keep using those. Most people use our product for instrument automation and creation because you can create tests quickly that are extremely stable. What the left-hand side looks at is it looks at, and again, these are just generalizations we have from interviewing hundreds of customers, to create a stable, to author a test that's stable in a coded solution is roughly 5, 6 hours. With our tool, it's an hour or less. What that means is that over the course of, a month, how many additional tests are you going to create in our tool versus an open source tool? If we jump over to the right-hand side and we look at the personnel cost, this looks at a team that's building and developing and managing a web application. After year 1, 2, 3, and 4, the yellow line corresponds to the team that decided to go with a coded solution. As we could see after year 4, we need more than twice as many people to maintain that coded solution as opposed to test them. So the ROI is significant, whether you're looking at FTE cost avoidance or reallocating resources to focus on other areas.
Great, wonderful, Ian. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings up to our second poll of the day, and let's understand, you know, how things have shaped for you till now, and the poll is on. So that brings up to the end of our second poll for the day. Now, before we move forward, a quick reminder to everybody, if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Our team is actively monitoring and will be happy to answer them. Thanks again for your input. It's great to see how diverse optimization and adoption levels are existing. Now, before we move forward, what is better than theory? Just wanted to understand with from all our audience that what is better than theory. Okay, so anything better than theory is result. Sunil, I know Techment has been using TestIM for over 4 years now. So could you share a couple of success stories where Techment client have benefited from testing? Any specific gains around coverage, stability, or resource saving?
Absolutely, Chetan. So let me walk you through an implementation, basically a couple of implementation. Before talking about the numbers, it is very, very interesting to see. I think many of us, we already know, and Ian rightly mentioned that test time has been around for like since 2014, and I personally have been using it for 2016. And when we go to any customer, let's say Chetan, you are one of my customer, you are not going to just agree for any tool. So for this particular implementation, which we started 4 years ago, same thing happened. We had to go with proper proof of concept using Selenium and three more tools prominent at that particular time, including Catalan and other thing. And I believe Ian talked very well about the ROI and all. We had to present that case that how other tools are doing if I start utilizing that. So we had to present POC, use case, ROI before getting started with this test IAM. Otherwise, if I just say after a good night's sleep, if I just say, Chetan, I would like to utilize test IAM, I don't think Chetan is going to agree with that. I need to have a fact and ROI data, definitely with some practical stuff. So over the period of 1.5 months, we did that POC 4 years ago. Uh, Test time was the winner. A couple of years ago, again, did the same thing for a couple of other customers. Test time was the winner. Now we are directly offering test time as a de facto browser automation tool, API, Salesforce, everything. So this particular use case, I talked about the background. Uh, in this particular case, it is a tenant-based system, platform involved, multiple modules ranging from onboarding tenants, setup tenant, a lot of APIs are there, a lot of donor engagements are there. So instead of just saying that a lot of users are there, uh, the point is how exactly we implemented test IAM. We did not need a lot of setup like if we do for Playwright or Selenium. Just go and subscribe to test IAM license and start coding. I think Ian has done very good justice to overall capabilities. It was still like a Usain Bolt running 200 meter sprint. But yeah, I think most of the things are already covered. But if you go one by one, 60-70% of the test cases that you automate, it's all medium level. But if you have a complex requirement, Ian showed us that how exactly we can customize it using the code as well. So in this particular use case, we have automated 2000 plus test cases, already saved 2200 plus hours. I'm sure that it is more than that, but at least for this particular number, we have the data backing, how many number of times we have executed, uh, we saved manual hours. And that's how clients are also happy, because if client is paying for something, the effort for the tool, they also should get some benefit out of that. We would like to save some time for Q&A. Let's go to the next story. Something similar, just like a previous success story. And then previous success story is not over yet. We are still using test IAM, and over the period of time, we are automating more and more, little bit of maintenance here and there, automating new and new test cases. For this customer as well, we did the POC a couple of years back. And in 1.5 years, we automated so many test cases, like Ian rightly pointed. If it is taking me like 20-30 minutes to automate something in Playwright and Selenium, hardly it took like 30-second, 40-second or a minute in test IAM. Similarly here, the number of test cases you can see and hours saved. It was like we would have taken, based on my experience, I have worked extensively on Playwright and Selenium. I would have taken like 3 to 5 years, but we did that in 1.5 years. The best part is the maintenance is comparatively like 1/5 of whatever we could do in Selenium and Playwright. And I think we have a long way to go. Don't just believe in these numbers. This number are going to grow because product is not over. Product is continuously evolving. We need to do a lot of upgrades. So the self-healing is helping us a lot. And when we show these numbers to customers, definitely there's a data backing in the background that how exactly we are claiming that 1500 hours saved. And the test cases, definitely it's all in Jira, DevOps, whichever tool customers are using. And that's how we are able to showcase all these numbers. So this is something very, very practical that we have been utilizing. It's not just some tool. I'll take a minute and talk about, Ian has already answered one of the question about the ROI and all. And this is a live proof that we have been utilizing. And there was one more question. We'll go to Q&A. Before that, I would say there was one more question related to like how exactly we can utilize test time and all. This is living proof. And how can we adapt? We as QAs can adapt to AI tools and all. Let's say all hands on deck. I don't know AI and all. So that doesn't mean that you cannot start utilizing AI. You don't have to be master of AI. You don't have to create ChatGPT to utilize ChatGPT, correct? So in that case, you're not going to create LLM models. You simply start utilizing such tools. So that's one way to get started. However, like I already said, we need to understand the tools and technologies so that we can utilize it better and for the benefit of all the customers for our own products. And that's the thing that we started like much before all these technologies came into picture. And over the period of time, I think test time has been evolving. I think I have seen the journey throughout. So I can say with my experience and credibility that, yeah, I've seen the journey. And though we are not talking about the new features, but whatever you can see in the market, a lot of features will come into picture. We don't have timeline and all. And of course, keep following up Tricentis for latest updates. You'll know that there will be new features, exciting features in test IAM. But for this case, I think, Chetan, over to you. I believe this pretty much the number talks about itself.
That's awesome, Sunil. These are some truly compelling examples of business value delivered through smart automation. Because we are left with very little time, I would request Ian to wrap it all together. Could you give us a quick summary of how the entire test IM suite, including mobile and Salesforce, fits into an organization's broader automation strategy?
Yeah, great question. So we've kind of shifted our focus and we're focusing more on some larger, more enterprise customers. And what we discovered was that if they have a web app, there's a corresponding mobile app. And on the back end, most people are testing Salesforce. These are three different sort of individual products, but they're really all part of our portfolio. And so we can sell these as a bundle. We can also, we're trying to bundle these all together as one more of an enterprise type of solution. But all of these solutions, all of these areas, whether it's mobile, whether it's native apps, hybrid apps, Salesforce apps, custom web apps, they can all be tested and utilized with our platform.
Great. Thank you so very much, Jan. Let's move on to our final segment, which is Q&A. Although we have very short time remaining, but I'll still take a couple of questions from the audience. So, one question is, I'll give it to Ian. Ian, what do you think are the most compelling reasons why users should choose TestIM, or maybe users are choosing TestIM over other automation tool?
Yeah, good question. There are a couple of things. One, it could be a development team they've gotten rid of all traditional QA. And of course, and if anyone's on the call been in development, as I have, one of the key measures of success or KPIs is the number of sprint points you're delivering per sprint. And if you're focusing a lot of your time on creating tests and debugging tests, that's taking away from the number one reason why the company hired you, which is to build and deliver new features that customers can utilize, right? So that's one area. The other area is mixed teams where you have people that are technical or maybe people that are less technical. Again, most of these companies we're talking to, they're doing some sort of agile or scrum, in which case they need to deliver quickly and they need a tool that will allow them to quickly create tests that are stable and will consistently work for them.
Great. The other, very interesting question that comes up is, what type of mobile applications TestIM is best at testing?
What type of applications is it best at testing?
Yep.
Yeah, so again, any custom web application would be ideal. If you're looking at packaged apps like, Workday or SAP, that would probably be better for a fit for something like Tosca. But for custom web applications, native applications written in Kotlin or Objective-C, or native app or hybrid applications written in React or Flutter, or Salesforce, obviously applications, any of those would be good fits for our product.
Awesome. And I think there are more questions. I think some of those questions are kind of directly answered, Ian, based on the case studies we showed, based on
Yeah.
the demo we showed. There are a
Hmm.
couple of interesting questions. One of the question is like, how do you use Okayoke in testing to predict and prevent bugs? Yeah, that's funny. So basically the question is how defect prediction and prevention works. And there's another question like, how can you utilize AI, Gen AI for scenario exploration and all? So I think let's try to cover both the questions here, going beyond current testing boundaries and what we already know. Let's talk about the defect prediction and prevention. It's a very deep space, a lot of machine learning involved. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we need to come up with some sort of tool already available in the market. And there are tools available in the market. If you have a big project which is running for, let's say, good number of years, and if you say you have a good number of lines of code, thousands of lines of 50,000, 1 lakh, and maybe a million lines of code. So in that case, definitely you should opt out for such tools. Definitely one of the tools called C-Light is offering. So what it does is it helps you prevent the bug. I'll just talk about it briefly. This itself is a like 1 hour session or 2 hour session. So it can help you a long way. But since we are talking about the automation, I'll try to prevent myself not to talk about too much. It is going to integrate with the code, whatever you do, whatever test, manual automation. Let's say manual you are doing, you are automating using test IM. So let's say I have like 2000 test cases already automated using test IM. But at a given point of time, if Chetan asks me, Chetan is like, let's say our delivery manager, and if he's asking, Sunil, go ahead and run the test cases. I don't know personally what all the impacted areas are. I cannot blindly go ahead and execute all 2000 test cases. If I do, it might take like couple of hours if I have too many parallel runs, or it might take few days. So I need to be very intelligent about it. I could be a seasoned tester, but I may miss some of the bugs, but it is going to exactly tell that which all part of your code is changed. And it is also going to say that, okay, based on your manual testing and automation testing, 70% coverage is done. These are all the code that 30% is missing. And then you will get the actual visibility that you have not tested this piece of code. So you can actually test the corner cases as well. So this is kind of a defect prediction you can do. You can test that code so that you won't get a defect. There may be defect, there may not be defect. That this is a kind of defect prevention. Another thing is scenario exploration. Very interesting. I mean, that's the kind of future looks like. I'm not going to talk about the actual name because I have been discussing with other folks in the QA community. We are already at a stage. We are talking about tool and AI power tool, but we are already at a stage where people are implementing, and in fact, we also have few things on the way. You take a language model, large language model, or a mini language model, or a small language model. You train it against your domain knowledge and application knowledge. So the model is like a very intelligent in your application. It's not generic model. You have to take a small model, train it. It will know everything about your particular domain application. Take a large language model. So this two marries together, and that's how you start building the overall systems. This is not about large language model and Gen AI discussion, but I wanted to give understanding that this is how people are doing, and there are tools available. Either you do it on your own, create a custom solution, or basically the point is don't try to get into too many complex things. Start simple. Start with manual. You already know manual. You already know automation. Start with tools like test times. Take the advantage of like at least 3 to 4 pillars. You can start uh,
Hey,
getting benefit.
Sunil, sorry, real quick. I've got to drop. Guys,
So,
great conversation today, and we'll talk soon, okay?
thanks, Ian. Have a good
Okay,
day.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for your presence, and it really means a lot. And people would have really got good benefit from your presence. Thank you so much.
great. Thank you, guys. Okay, bye-bye.
Right. Yeah, I think we are already overshooting 5 minutes, but that was very interesting question. And please do engage with us. I mean, we can have a really long talk, and if you have something we can help, definitely we'll be happy to help. But there are a lot of things that is happening in the background, AI, Gen AI space and tool. But if you start using such tools, you can start getting benefit even if you are not expert in AI and Gen AI. So that's the kind of bottom line in that.
Thank you so much, Sunil. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we close, a quick word about Techment. We are a global acceleration partner founded in year 2013 with a presence in both India and US. We are a team of over 150 plus experts. known for our 95% plus retention and a focus on agility and innovation. We help business scale faster with robust QA, data, and product engineering solutions. Now, we know that there are a lot of questions that have come up, and because of limitation of time, we've not been able to answer that. So please feel free to reach out to us via email, and we would definitely try to answer all of your questions. Thank you once again to our speakers, Sunil and Ian.